Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Grief Let's Talk About It podcast. You guys know who it is. It is Tony Lynch. I am the host of this podcast, and we are your number one podcast for conversations around death, dying, and grief, trauma, mental health, and all the things that come in between. We have another amazing guest for you guys today. Excuse me, I'm over here choking my brains out. Now, before we get started, I would like to say that if you are tuning in on anywhere except for YouTube, do me a favor, head on over to that YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification so you'll be notified every time that we drop a new episode. And of course, like I said before, we have an amazing guest. Now, before I bring her up here, I would like to say that this is for educational purposes only. If you have any questions or comments, please put them in the comment section. We'll be sure to answer them as we're going along. Now, without further ado, help me welcome my next guest, Miss Dana Kay. Dana, how you doing?
Good, thank you. Thank you so much for having me as your guest on your podcast. I'm really honored. Thank you.
The pleasure is mine. The pleasure is mine. Now, before we get started, tell people who you are, where you're from, and about the work that you do.
Yeah, so I am originally from Kazakhstan, and I moved to Canada in 2009. So I've been living here for almost 16 years. It just happened that unfortunately 5 years ago, I lost my brother to suicide, and I was going through a lot of healing and journey, I guess. And some of his friends actually suggested that I would publish some of my poetry. And poetry was one of the ways I was healing. It was helping me to heal, I guess, to process my grieving and mourning process. So I decided I will do that. So last December, during Boxing Day, I guess, I published my first book, which is dedicated to my brother. It's my grieving, healing poetry and some of his poetry because he used to write as well. And it's just a book I created as a tribute to him and as a legacy to keep for my family, for my children, for generations to come, and also for anybody who finds it hard to process some of the strongest emotions during grieving and mourning.
Nice. Now, we'll get into your book and everything. I want to ask though, how was, like, you lost your brother to suicide, and that is hard in itself. You know, was he your older brother, your younger brother?
Yeah, he was younger brother. Sorry, should I take care of my pets? Because
no, you're fine. You're fine.
Oh, sorry, Mila. Shh. Sorry. So my brother is younger than me, and he was my baby brother. So there were only three of us, and three siblings in the family, and I'm the oldest. So yeah, I was expected to take care of my siblings, and I was actually the one who I would say raised him in most of his years. He even lived with me when he was a student at the university, and I paid for his education. So we had a very special bond. And as I mentioned in my book, we had the bond that's more than siblings. You know, I felt the motherly love for him, for my brother. So we had very, very special bond. Yeah, unfortunately, he had some. I didn't realize he was struggling with depression and just lots of existential crisis and questions about his life and existence, which I can also relate to in some ways because we both grew up in a very dysfunctional home. Unfortunately, his parents, which I only found out only after his passing. My therapist actually pointed out that it sounded like my parents have very severe narcissistic personality disorder. So I had to study about that. And so it wasn't only grieving of my brother to suicide, which is already heavy itself and tragic. But also I was at the same time grieving my family and other things that I was coming to realization, I guess, along the way.
Wow. You know, you said a lot of things right there, and I want to unpack one of the things that you said. Growing up in, you just found it. What did you recently find out that your parents had narcissistic disorder?
Yeah, my brother passed away 5 years ago, and to me it was a big tragedy because there's actually a whole history of 1 year of me trying to save his life. Because I was actually the only one he felt safe with to share that he's going through depression. For the first time, I think, like very, very openly, he mentioned in 2017. And then in 2018, he was like going through very his depression became very clinical depression, and then but my parents would not accept and admit that he has, because it's unfortunately back in my country. I'm from Kazakhstan, and depression still is a huge stigma in our country,
Yeah.
and especially for men to say they have depression is very shameful. So he could not admit to anybody. To the point, I do mention this in my book too, that um, he could not admit because he would even lose job. He was afraid that he would lose job because men are not allowed to be weak. Men are not allowed to have depression. Men are like expected to be strong and go and provide and all that stuff. So the parents, yeah, unfortunately, after his passing, I had to go through some traditional therapy as well. So
Mm-hmm.
that's when I was sharing my story, which was very heavy, that's when therapists kind of pointed out that, unfortunately, especially my mother, sounds to have very severe NPD, and I had no idea. I didn't understand. To me, I felt like we have, like everybody else, we have the same family like everybody else. Like, who doesn't have the same expectations from parents like everybody does? So, but I didn't realize the depths of the destruction that was we were going through. So
Wow. Now, when you say the depths of deception,
destruction, yeah. I mean,
destruction,
it was very destructive. I mean, look, it was very. I didn't realize how dangerous and how destructive it was, how
right?
bad it was, that it led my brother to suicide. I'm not here taking like doing blame shifting. No, I did actually a lot of work on like forgiving, on understanding NPD, being a child of narcissistic personality disorder parents, or like the dynamics in the family, and how my brother felt. Like I could, yeah, it's just a lot of things. I'm actually writing my other book, which will have more in depth the story of us.
Mm-hmm.
It will give a lot of like, yeah, situations will explain. I mean, it will explain a lot. So your question was, what was your question? Sorry.
Well, I was listening. So I guess my question would be, like the work that you have done, the things that you had to uncover, that you had experienced, right? Because you mentioned that you thought that everybody's family was the same, right? And I find it interesting because it's such a commonality across the board. When you grow up in a dysfunctional environment, you this becomes the norm. So anything outside of that is kind of foreign, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And so what was some of the things that what I'm saying that was considered norm in your family?
Yeah, like me being as an older daughter, an older sibling, like I was expected that I do take care of my siblings. Like honestly, now I'm when after so the last five. So my brother passed away 5 years ago in 2019 in August. So it's my puppy here,
No, it's okay.
sneezing and stuff. Sorry. So yeah. So 2095. So first year, it was complete just devastation. All right, I was just completely just mourning, and so I started writing my poetry actually towards the first year of anniversary since my brother passing. So I just realized that it was not fair that I had to grow up and become a parent to my siblings when I was
Mhm.
5.
Yeah, yeah, and
So
it's now that is common because when I was coming up, me being the oldest of me and my sister, like our parents was my mom was like, hey, take care of your sister. So at an early age, although I'm the oldest, I was cooking and
mhm,
cleaning, getting in trouble
same,
because my sister was always into stuff,
same, yeah.
all of those different things, right? And but for like you said, those things are normal, and things like that, which I didn't mind. I love my sister to death. That's my baby girl.
Mhm. Yeah.
And but there was just some things that when we define the word dysfunctional, growing up watching family drink, and we have
Mhm,
family members that gambled, and all sorts of other things as well, right? And
mhm,
in the community that I lived in, it was such a normal thing that this is what people did.
mhm,
And and so many of guys that I grew up with did pretty much follow suit. They're just playing dice in the laundry room downtown, or hanging out at the local, in
Mhm.
front of the liquor stores and stuff like that. And so for us, it was, like you said, it was like a normal thing, you
Yeah.
know.
Mhm.
Um, and so no one really paid attention to it. And if I have to say, I would have to say that my household was probably one of few that really wasn't that bad. Like, yeah, I got my butt whooped and things like that because I
Mhm.
got in trouble a lot too,
Yeah. Yeah.
And there was times when I got my butt whipped and I didn't understand. So, we look at that, and I like to call things for what they are, like,
Yeah.
it's not putting the blame on anything. It's
No.
holding people accountable
Mhm.
for the things that for their own actions.
Yeah.
Like, you want me to be accountable for mine, I need you to be accountable for yours as well,
Mhm.
type thing. And so, now that I'm older, I can recognize these things. And, there's a lot, like you said, a lot of healing. There's a lot
Yeah.
of work. There's a
Mhm.
lot of uncovering
Yeah.
layers and layers and
Mhm.
layers that we
Mhm.
oftentimes take for, don't
Yeah.
recognize.
Yeah. Yeah, I just want to just, if you don't mind, just adding a little bit more to that, what we were talking about
No?
dysfunction and like being a zone older sibling and stuff. It's just also because I was like instilled this or programmed to be responsible for everything about
Right.
siblings, including like paying for their education. You know what I mean? It's just
Oh,
such a
okay.
huge thing, right? Because I did pay for my brother's education, right, when he was becoming oil and gas engineer back home, and he lived with me, and no support was given from my parents whatsoever, right? So it was just like a normal thing. But also growing up, like I didn't have friends. I wasn't allowed to celebrate my birthday or go out or have fun. I was just only required to have chores. So it was like an extension of my parent. And also, of course, like I'm not talking even about physical abuse or emotional abuse and all that stuff. It's all was present, of course. But also, when my brother passed away, I just had this very heavy load of feeling guilty.
Mm,
People here in Canada wouldn't understand. Like I live in Canada now, it's a different culture, right? People don't understand how come he's just your sibling. He was grown up man. Like how come you're responsible? But I don't know. I'm not a psychologist, so it's hard for me to explain these things. But it's somehow all tied together, right? So
right.
I did feel even responsible for moving to Canada, for leaving him behind. You know what I mean? For not being present and not being there when he needed me the most. Like for that 1 year when I tried to help him during his depression, like trying to find him doctors, trying to send him to different places, psychologists, right? I even from here would wire transfer money to pay for the something calls from Russia or from Kazakhstan, right? So it's just I did a lot of different things, and my parents did nothing. Like they honestly told me and told him, once you are back to work, everything will be normal. But that is not that does no, depression doesn't work that way, and they
Right.
didn't understand that. And then it's just very sad how people you think they love you because there was a lot of I guess I have to use maybe these words, gaslighting and all that stuff. When you believe your parents love you no matter what, you know what I mean? Like they
Yeah.
have this unconditional love. So I've been actually questioning for last at least a year, like what is unconditional love? Like you know what I mean? Because I was thinking like that's already implied because I'm a parent myself. I have two daughters, and I can never imagine them parenting each other. You know what I mean, like it's okay, some of them help me or help each other, but there is no implication of like them taking care of each other in a way like as a parent would should be doing. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's what difference I guess is. So the heavy of the guilt was heavy. So one of my poems actually, it's actually several poems that when I had to face the monster and look him in the eye, that's how I would help me to heal from those deepest feelings and emotions, like guilt, for example. I have one of the poems that's called Guilt. I just had to face it. I had to look in the eye and just kind of process it. And writing actually saved me in some ways because when you have everything inside of you and nobody understands you, like it's hard to process it. But if you find any creative way of healing, that's what I also mentioned in my book. Like maybe you can do some art or sing, or I mean, I don't know, go for a walk or write. And like poetry was for me, that's something that I was, and it was a huge part of my healing. Yeah.
So I love that because there's a lot of people out there, men and women both, that are struggling or suffering with depression. And some people out there may argue that, hey, like it's a mental thing and this, that, another. And being someone who worked with men um, that are struggling with mental health issues, depression, high anxiety, constantly feeling overwhelmed, struggling with unresolved trauma, addiction, all of these different things that come along with a mental health illness. Their biggest thing is that they always feel unseen or unheard, because as you said before, most men, and this is a universal thing, most men across the world get told these things. No one cares about what you're going through. No
Mhm.
one, like, you're supposed to be this and you're supposed to do that. We're supposed to be strong. It's considered a weakness, right?
Mhm.
until until these young men make a choice, and the choices aren't the best choices in the world, right? It's a permanent fix to a temporary problem. And I think where the struggle becomes in is that there's not enough support out there to help individuals. I mean, there is now, but for the longest time there was no support out there for us, you
Yeah,
know.
but many countries don't even have that support that you have here now.
Right,
Like
right,
Canada in America, I believe, or maybe some parts of Europe, I don't know, have more support, I believe, than if you take the region of like post-Soviet Union, former Soviet Union, I guess, republics, countries, like it's still a huge stigma to talk about depression, to
right,
to admit that you have depression. Like he was, when because he was feeling very safe with me to share some of his struggles. So he would, like, when I tell him like, what, please go see a doctor, go see a therapist, or find like somebody to talk to, he would say he was very like afraid. That's another thing. Like they have a fear, right? They have lots of fear that they will be misunderstood, or they'll be rejected, and also he had a fear that he will lose his friends, or he will lose his job, and also he feels weak, which is not. He used to be very strong and life loving person, very cheerful, and just enjoyed life. But when he couldn't work, like, to him, he felt like he was disabled, like he was suddenly, how do you use the word, like he felt like he was not man anymore. Know what I mean? Just in some
yeah,
ways.
yeah.
Mm.
Well, and most people do feel that way, and it's sad that we have to fight through social norms
Mhm.
or social stigmas in order to just show up every day in life the best way that we can, which
Yeah,
that
for
reminds me.
ourselves. We should show up for ourselves.
Yeah, for
But we
show up
were
for
so much
ourselves too.
taught, but so much like society and religion and families. I don't know how here, maybe it's different. I'm talking from my perspective, right? From my culture.
Mhm.
We're so much like expected to live for others, to have this
Yes,
facade of
yeah,
being successful, happy, have this life, or provide and give. Like you will not, if you go to Kazakhstan now, like I haven't been living here there for almost 16 years now, but still, like it was always like hospitality was always number one for the culture, which is beautiful. But I believe we are losing some very, very fundamental, very, very valuable things when, like now it's very trendy to talk about energy and like
mm,
life energy and stuff, which is wonderful things too, because we, like, I don't know how to say this. Maybe some Christian friends will not agree with me, but I'm a fairly new Christian, right? So because I grew up in a non-Christian, in non-religious atheistic culture, so I came to Christ like in late 90s, early 2000s kind of thing. So really, like Bible says, love your neighbor as you love yourself. And lately I was wondering, like, how do we love ourselves in a healthy way? who can teach us? Who is teaching our children or us that we should love ourselves in a healthy way? And then
Mhm.
we will not be using drugs to numb our pain. No, we will not be doing alcohol, or we will not be doing taking our lives, to suicide, because if we know how to love ourselves, like again, this is very, very I know used up topic, but they like when on airplane you have to put mask on yourself before you put mask on your child even. Like, we should learn how to take care of ourselves, how to take care of our life energy, and energy that gives us life, and all other things, before we can provide and support others, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
through my healing, I had so many insights and so many revelations, so many learning. Like, I had to grow through so much, where I had to process that, yeah, I actually am not parent to my siblings, or I'm not even parent to my parents. You know what I mean? They expect us to parent them when we are capable to make money and be grown ups, right? But they don't. But they still us kind of keep us on that string, of being dependent on them, or being having this emotional tie with them, right? So what I'm saying is that we, I believe, need to teach the self worth, our children, and learn that ourselves. That's what I'm going through myself.
Right. And it's crazy because as you were saying that, it reminded me of the late Robin Williams,
Yeah.
the comedian. And he said a quote one time. He said, "Those who are struggling with depression the most are the ones who make people the most happiest because they don't want people to feel the same way that they do."
Mm.
And you describing your brother being a happy-go-lucky person, being loving and everything else, it just reminded me of that so many people that are in the community's eye, famous people, they're the ones struggling the most,
Mhm.
right? And not saying that our communities aren't struggling, because the average person, male and female both, are out here struggling, and we're putting on smiles for people, because we don't want them to feel the pain and the sadness that we go through, right? And there's another individual, um, Keanu Reeves, that talked about depression as well. And he said, depression is like the demon on your shoulder that's constantly nagging you, criticizing you, putting you down. And on the other side, you have the little clown on your face, and you choose to be the clown to make other people laugh. And you're in the public's eye, and all seems fine. But when you go in privacy is when all your demons come about. And that is when people struggle the most, is when we're by ourselves and things like that. And like you said, to be honest, it's only until recently, the last few years, where people have really started acknowledging the depth of perception, because the suicide rates are through the roof, right? The homeless rates are through the roof. Everything, mental health issues, addiction, all of these things are just skyrocketing across the board. And for individuals like myself who do notice the signals or the signs, and not all the time, we're not perfect, but when we can notice significant signs of depression, we can then step in and acknowledge it with the individual, and begin to, when they want help, we can begin to move and work through, by using tools, without medication. Now, don't get me wrong, medication has its place, but not just all the time. It shouldn't be your first thing to do. I think the first thing is to do is acknowledge it and learn how to communicate with other people. So in turn, we know how to show up for you. We know how to walk with you and support you as you begin to work through the different aspects of what's causing the depression.
Yeah. So the emotional, I guess, maturity and emotional intelligence, where we I think lacking, most of us. Like
Hmm.
when you mentioned, like when you're depressed, like or whatever emotions you're feeling, you just mentioned that we're allowed to have those emotions or feelings, but we need to admit them and we need to talk about them or process and have and take the space to process them, right?
Hmm.
Same with grief. Like when I was going through grief, I kind of gave myself permission to grieve as much and as creatively as I can, because I really wanted to not just say, oh yeah, it's sad or a time will heal it. No, time first of all might not never ever heal, but it will teach you to live with it, which means you are processing every single emotion. Because don't because if yeah, I had to read some books about suicide and grieving and all these things when I was working with my therapist. So one of the things that the psychologists mentioned, that the rate of suicide actually, I mean, the how do you say that, the chances of committing suicide amongst survivors of suicide is very high,
Yeah.
because we are survivors. We go through so much turmoil of emotions and feelings and all that stuff. Like as I say, guilt almost killed me. Feeling guilty was very, very
Hmm.
heavy on me. That almost killed me, and I was at that risk of taking my life as well. The only thing that helped me to kind of stay and not do anything still, it was my children, because yeah. But there was a point when you just cannot think about children as well, right? It just takes when it takes its toll, no, on you. But you're right. I agree that we have to give ourselves permission to live through these emotions, to process them, to have them. How can I say, to accept them, and yeah, and to work on with them. And when we sometimes need, yeah, help, not sometimes, we need support. We need people who understand and accept us the way that we are,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's just so yeah, I agree with you on that. So
You know, the biggest thing is, and I love that you mentioned this, grief, because that quote that you said, that guilt of grief will kill you. I've seen it. I've almost been there myself,
mhm,
you know. And again, I'm gonna speak from my own personal experience.
mhm,
When my son passed away, the guilt of not being able to protect him from
yes.
whatever the world was throwing at him, because I figured that was my job, is to provide, protect, and to teach him to be a good man in the world, which meant that, hey, you're going to be respectful. You're going to carry yourself in a way that is becoming of a young man, right? And I was teaching him um, how to express himself, his
Mhm,
emotions, trying to break the societal stigmas around men, saying, hey, it's okay to hurt, it's okay to cry, it's okay to feel whatever you're feeling. What is not okay is that you take it out on other people. We're not going to do that. We're going to look at the world, we're going to analyze it, we're going to be logical and rational in our thoughts. We're not going to make bad decisions, but we're going to approach it in a way to where we can come up with solutions, right?
mhm, yeah.
And I often think, I often feel sometimes, even now, with the heaviness of grief and trauma and things like that, that we have to we have to be able to pivot with people,
Mm,
right? So, and what I mean by that, I'm gonna use a different terminology. When it comes down to people, we have to be ourselves time travelers.
mhm,
And what I mean by that, when a person is going through an episode, whether it be grief or mental health episode or depressive episode, as a practitioner, we have to be able to show up in the moments where those individuals are, meaning we have to go back in time where these things are actually happening, to be in the episode with these individuals to help them work through it, right?
mhm,
And so, and just as well as I do, when you go through these episodes and things like that, you can go back to where you're experiencing childhood trauma, right? So I think it's important that we have empathy and understanding and know how to pivot in our travels with those individuals.
Yeah, yeah. So I always say we need to be the village, like everybody.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
need to be village. We need each other. We need the village. We need each other. So, unfortunately, my brother did have an attempt to suicide.
Hmm.
So he passed away on 4th of August, but 1st of August, when he did have an attempt, he did text me. And I'm here in Canada. He was back in Kazakhstan. And I'm like, he has the family there. He has all his friends there. He has like co-workers, everybody, his classmates he went to school with, right? And he's texting me like 2 oceans away, you know what I mean? Let's just like um saying that he wants to take his life today. And so here I am trying to find him, texting him, trying to reach my parents, and parents are like busy with their lives. My sister is busy with her life. And just so finally, one of his friends reaches to him and he keeps him on the phone for 2 hours and then asks him to go to bed, kind of thing. But, and he comes back on Friday, like, which is like miracle. To me, it's a miracle. That's why I was thinking, okay, now everybody will show up. Everybody will come to his house just to have tea, just to stay with him, to make sure he's okay, to watch. You know what I mean? I
Yeah,
was really hoping that will happen because they know now. They almost lost him like this because men never fail in their attempts. Never.
yeah,
But
yeah,
he just did not do it. That's what saved him because his love for me, his love for life, his love for friends. I'm sure he was also hoping that somebody will show up. But
yeah,
people these days, I'm surprised it's happened in my culture, but here, people always feel they want to be politically correct or whatever, or they want to be conscious of like your space or your time, your privacy, whatever. No, I wanted to be nagging friend if I'm going through depression. I want
yes,
to come to my door and say, let's have a cup of tea or let's go for a walk. Here, I am here for you. Whenever you're ready to talk, you talk. Don't talk, we can watch movie. I can just sit here by you or
yeah,
whatever. Or just make a phone call, simple. No, it was nothing. Nothing happened on Friday. So that's just what makes me sad. Like we need the village. We need each other.
yeah,
And especially when you know somebody is going through, and when they say they have depression, please believe them. It's not a joke. It's not just a fancy word. It actually means, or you can even like have a conversation. How do you feel? What does it mean? Like I'm not a psychologist. I'm just saying from my own experience
yeah,
because I went through myself at 22. I almost took my life as well. That was the first time when I wanted to leave this life because I just had didn't understand why am I living this life. Like I couldn't understand. It was a very challenging time of the like country as well, going through changes and stuff. So I'm just saying that a lot of things just can disappoint, and then everybody's different, right? So when he was going through this, like for a year, I tried. So I did speak to his friends. I did speak to my family. I tried to explain them what's going on. So I would. Sorry, I'm taking for a long time to explain you, but
no, no, hey, you're fine.
okay.
Do your thing. Go
Yeah.
ahead. Do your
So
thing.
I didn't. So of course I didn't want to take focus from my book a lot. I didn't go into depth, which is okay. But I did mention that I wish they showed up. I wish they were there for him. He had good friends who loved him to pieces. He had family who said they love him to pieces. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I was so far away. That's why I feel guilty that I should have be there because he wanted me. And that's what I mentioned in my poem as well. Like he probably needed me too, but I felt I failed him. Although I was 24/7, I was on the phone. You know what I mean? I was deprived of sleep. I was deprived of my life routine and everything. And I have children, my life here in Canada. So it's just so that's what I want to say when you said like we need to understand each other and to be present for each other. We need that. We need
Yeah,
each other.
you know, I totally agree. We do need a village. We need to get back to that way of life. It takes a
Mhm.
village to raise a child, right? And
And it takes a village
nowadays,
to do life. It takes a
right, to
village
get
to do
life,
life.
right? That's
Yeah,
that's what we're built for as human beings. We're built for community, right?
exactly.
We're
So,
built
so
to
yeah,
support
we're very social.
and yeah, we're built for this, right? This is how we're made. We're communal people. We're
Mhm.
communal. And that's how we connect. That's how we uplift. That's how we speak life and love into one another. Somewhere down the line, we've been separated through trauma and just government and all of these different things. Like we have to get back to that because if
Mhm.
not, we're not going to survive as a human race.
No,
It's going to, and
exactly.
we've been divided, right? We've been
No.
so divided.
Mhm.
Now,
And like when you're grieving too, like yeah, I'm so thankful that I do have some community here. So people showed up. Like I did host like a we, like as I say, like so unfortunately in Western culture, people kind of lost that the way that the people should be like warm mourning. You know what I mean? Like they even Bible teaches how people should be warm mourning. You know, and
right, right.
yeah, and many cultures have, like in my culture, we have beautiful traditions about how we can support the family who lost their loved one, right? They will,
Mhm.
people show up, they bring meals, or they cook meals, or they clean, or they do take care of their chores and whatever, right? Errands and stuff. So here too, I do know. So I'm grateful. I'm part of church, so that we do have community that people would show up with. Yeah. So for me, it was biggest thing was to celebrate his life, which I did on the 40th day since his passing in September. So like lots of people showed up, and we had beautiful like remembrance lunch for my brother, and that's how the village show up, you know. And then, but your grieving on in the morning doesn't stop there, like you know.
No,
That's
no,
why even if people don't know what to say, I believe they should be like in present, you know. I should know that I can always like because grief comes in waves, right? And when you're grieving, it's waves of full feelings and emotions. Today you feel okay, and then maybe 3 hours later you're completely a mess, right? Or 3 days later you're like, you know, again like day one, right?
mhm.
So we should acknowledge that, and also everybody's different process. We cannot expect people to be over their grief in 3 months or something like that. So that's
Right.
how I
Well,
felt.
grief itself is a lifelong thing, right?
Mhm, mhm.
And you may think that you're over it, and then there may be a smell, a sound, or a feeling that comes through, and those waves of grief come back.
Or
Look,
even movies. Yeah, I would be in
yeah,
a show
movies,
with my
yeah,
children.
TV shows,
That
yeah,
yeah, that
you
was
know,
First Christmas when my brother passed away in August, and I took them to. I usually take them once or twice a year to like a theater or show or something like that. So it was like had happened to be the play, you know, a Christmas play, and there's something just triggers, and I'm crying, sobbing during the show. Like,
right, right.
you know what I mean? Like it's just. Hmm.
You know, you had mentioned something earlier. You know, men rarely fail at suicide. Rarely,
No,
right?
they probably no, never. They probably never do. I wouldn't believe
Well,
they do.
I
Maybe having
failed.
sex. Maybe accidentally. I guess.
No, I failed twice. I failed
Oh,
twice
okay.
at suicide,
Okay.
right?
Sorry, I don't know
One
that.
one time I was trying to intimidate a dude to do it for me because when I attempted it the first time, I pulled the trigger, but my gun jammed, so I didn't think it worked. So
Oh.
I had come up with this plan. I was game banging at the time. I came up with this plan like I'm gonna pick a fight with this dude because I know that he has a gun. So I'm gonna do it and let him kill me, right? Because there was that whole stigma: if you kill yourself, you're going to hell,
Mm.
and what all of that meant.
Yeah,
So
I
I
don't
was like,
believe
well,
that. Mhm.
right, so it was like if I let somebody else do it, then you know what I'm saying, everything's going to be okay. I didn't think
Mhm.
about the other stuff that came along with it.
Mhm.
Now, when I attempted my second time, had it not been for the voice that came through, I wouldn't be sitting here right now. I literally took over 2.5 months and planned my suicide out. I said,
Mhm.
this is what I'm going to do. I knew every detail of what I was going to do, how it was going to play itself out. I took I took steps to make sure no one could find me,
Hmm.
right? And no one even suspected what I was doing. At least I don't, no, well, the people
Yeah.
I've talked to,
Hmm.
they're like, we didn't even know, right? Because I was so good at looking at people in your face and going, I am fine, I am good, and this, that, and other. I never let on that my life had fallen apart, that inside I was so battered and beaten and damaged that that I was barely holding myself together. Because what I did, I built up my outside because I was a bodybuilder. So I stayed in the gym. I built my body up, and so every time people see me, I just looked healthy, right? I
Hmm.
was constantly eating right, and I'm getting up every day. I'm going to work. I'm making sure my bills are taken care of, and all of these different things. I did all of these things because I didn't want anybody to stop me from what I was going to do.
Hmm.
Deep down inside, Dana, I had people coming after me, bill collectors. I was homeless. I was struggling to no end. I was constantly sad, fighting back the tears when I'm around people, not wanting to be a burden to anyone. And it took, like, one of the lessons that I learned, which actually made me more determined to do it, is that when I did try to talk to people, you know, they would go, yeah, and then they would bring up their own problems. So it invalidated me, and it let me know that no one cared about what I was going through. And so I stopped talking to people about my problems. And then you know what happened? More people wanted to come and dump their problems on top of me.
Hmm.
No one would ask me. They just assumed that I was just going to be there for them. But then I started thinking to myself, like, no one cares about what I'm going through. No one, I'm trying here. I'm trying to open up, but no one wants to hear me. How you doing there? Welcome to the show. We're Dana. Just so I don't know if you read the description in the YouTube, but she's an author. She lost her brother to suicide and struggling with depression. So we're diving deep into that today. And so if you have any questions or comments, please put them in the comments section, and we'll be sure to answer them as we're going. So I was just talking with Dana about when I was struggling with depression, and I had planned out my suicide, and we were actually diving it deeper into you know um, why is it that when it comes down to men, we're more successful at suicides as well. And I was just telling her some of my experience, like when I was struggling, and how people just invalidated me, how they just
Hmm.
assumed that I was okay after the loss of my son and my mother and my father and my brother.
Yeah. Hmm.
Everybody just assumed that I was okay. And I got used to wearing a mask. And I was telling her how meticulous I was when I planned out my suicide. I
Yeah.
planned it out for 2.5 months. So we were diving into that. And thank you for that. Um, we and it's Dana, I don't know why we have to struggle to the extent that we do, um, when it comes down to struggling with depression. Why is it such a horrible thing to talk about? Why do people assume that depression is not a big deal?
Um, I think like in Western culture here, like when people ask you, how are you doing? They don't really mean to hear how are you doing, you know what I mean? It's just so maybe we need to bring back that connection, with people, as we mentioned village, and just the connection and just little communities around us, built, and we need to have those little like kitchen talks, just getting together and really being deep. I think many times people are like don't know anymore, or they don't want to be like vulnerable to open up, and to have these deep conversations like this, when you can really say, how are you feeling, how I am feeling,
Right.
and the other person should be ready to hear it and to also share about themselves. It's not like that you say how are you, but you don't actually want to hear how other
Right.
feels,
Right.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
but also but also there's cultural like expectations, just the way of weight, I guess, on children, that they have to be successful, they have to be this and that, which is, I mean, I'm not saying like I'm against any like societal norms or expectations in general, but I think, I don't know, it's just, I'm not a psychologist, I cannot talk much about these things, but just as a person, as a part of the community, as a citizen of this world and country, I want to say we need to have to learn, I guess, again, how to be connected on a deeper level with each other, and to really care and to be that village for each other. Like when we mentioned about like village, for example, yeah, it's good to have somebody to support you and to be present in your life. When you're going through this grief or depression, like mental challenges, right? And we shouldn't be afraid to open up about them. Yeah, I don't know. It's just I don't know if I answered your question, but it's hard. It's
No,
very
no,
much.
no. You're
It's
good.
much
I was
deeper
just
question, much deeper question. I don't think it's for me though, but I don't know
no, no.
because
You answered it perfectly because we should normalize the conversations around it, and that's the reason why we do
yes,
these
yeah, that's
podcasts.
why we're
You
talking.
know,
This is why we're
um,
here. Yeah.
right? We're having conversations around it. Because like myself and let me make sure. Petra Smith. Thank you, Petra. She has a podcast called Blessed to Excel After the Dust Settle. Send me the link. I would love to subscribe to it, check you out, and everything. And would love to. Um, if you ever need a guest, you got Dana, you got myself, and so many other people. I would love to be a guest on your show,
Mhm.
and and of course have you a guest on my show as well. And she also put up a comment here, and this right here is sad. She goes, her son was brutally murdered at the age of 13 months old. Wow.
Yes.
But I
Yeah.
have survived, and now it's time for
Mm.
everyone else to share their survival stories.
Yeah.
You're
True.
absolutely right.
Mhm.
I'm going to find you on
Yeah.
YouTube
Mhm.
because I would love to subscribe to your channel and show you
Yeah.
support over there as well. I think we are. If we not, I will follow you on LinkedIn as well. I would love to know more about your work that you do.
Mhm.
But my heart is with you. One of the things
Yeah.
that we talk about, especially with myself and a lot of other people like myself, child loss. But that is the first. And my heart is with you.
Mhm.
And to hear, to even fathom that someone would do that to a 13-month-old
Mm.
baby, um, that hurts my heart.
Yeah.
That hurts my heart so much that I wish I could just be there to give you a big old bear hug. I know that you said that you survived, but a good hug always does people good anyway.
Mhm.
So my heart is with you. Thank you for tuning. Thank you for tuning in today. And
Yeah, and I'm very sorry for your loss as well. Like
yeah,
I do agree with her that we need to share our stories. That's
yeah,
why I did publish my book with very, very personal, deep, and vulnerable story of me losing and surviving through suicide of my brother, who actually was like my firstborn son, not just my brother
right,
sibling. But I want to say that it is still hard for me to have this out in the world because of all the stigma, because of the family disapproval. I know it is very challenging. I'm sharing now, but I'm actually trying to fight those thoughts that I am gonna be, I'm gonna be actually, yeah, they'll be furious about this book, my family and
mhm,
my relatives probably too, because they just don't want to talk about suicide at all, and they keep saying to themselves and to others that he died from the heart attack, not from suicide. You know what I mean? It's just all those things. Like I don't
right,
want to cover up. I want to be truthful. I want to be vulnerable. I want to share my story so it helps somebody else to be truthful about their stories. But it is hard for me. I'll be honest. Like it's not easy to chat. to share my story. Even
Right.
today, like even when I'm posting about my book and stuff, honestly, I try to hide my family, kind of block them from seeing it, because I'm a little bit. I don't know what I'm. I don't know why I have this still the fear, but I guess it's just another thing I'm not ready to deal with. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Right. And Petra, you're absolutely right. It does make us stronger to be able to share our stories.
Mhm.
I'm a firm believer. When I first
Yes.
started podcasting, I came in with the premise of, or the thought of, you know, our stories become other people's survival guides. And that is the reason why I love having conversations with people, having them share their stories, because there is healing in that. There's um it's in-depth healing. And you're right, it is an unspoken subject.
Mhm.
And in a lot of cases, most people feel that it is unacceptable. I'm here to tell you, I'm not going to accept that. I'm
Mhm.
not going to accept that any longer. As someone who has tried to take my life, not once but twice, right?
Mhm.
Once I tried to have someone do it for me, and the second time, it was intervened. This is why I do the work that I do. I'm a men's grief coach, and I
Mhm.
work with men to help deal with these issues. I started a nonprofit, started podcasting, wrote a book, and I get to surround myself with amazing people that are doing amazing things out here in the world, and I want to give hope. I want to give healing. I want to walk with them. I identify what I'm supposed to do in this world. I know what my purpose is, like most of us do. Dana wrote a book about it, and she wrote poems, and it was healing for her. And she's out here sharing her story. So give it up for her. This is like her first time doing this. So give it up for her for even being brave enough to come up here and share her journey. Because this is the first step and many more steps in her healing journey as well. And so we want to support everyone that are out here doing this, because we need each other. As Dana, as we were talking about before, we got to get back to the community aspect of it. It takes a village. It takes a village, and we are part of this village. And those of us who have come a long ways within our healing journey, those that are just starting need us, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
We
Mhm.
are the
Yes.
village.
We are
And
here for
so,
them. That is
yeah,
why my book is out there for you, because it's me. Hopefully, it feels for you as holding my hand when
mhm,
you're having this book and reading it. It has the story of my brother. I have some pictures and his poetry as well, some little stories, and even some
yeah.
screenshots of his last text to me. So just I hope this helps somebody who is
Oh
going
yeah.
through the grieving and losing, just to process some of the emotions that I
Yeah,
did go through.
because just like how we talked about, grief is such a vast topic, and I love everything about it. That's why I do what I do. I love grief. I'm in love with it. It's been my companion my whole entire life, and with the emotional aspects of it, as a man, it I had to learn how to articulate my own emotions before
Mhm,
I can step up for other people to help create an atmosphere for other men like myself to be
mhm,
able to do that, to be able to be supported, to be able to um,
mhm,
speak life and love into one another, right?
mhm,
And to have that sort of atmosphere to be able to do it has been the biggest thing the biggest blessing that I've ever seen in my life. And just to be a part of that, to be a part of all of this community,
mhm.
this community of grief workers and practitioners and mental health practitioners that
Yeah.
are so heart centered. And we come on these shows because this is live stream. So there's several other people that are listening to this right now. And
Mhm.
I know that there's somebody out there going through something similar. And Dana's story is going to change their life by just having a conversation. And maybe someone out there that may not understand what someone who's struggling with depression is going through. Maybe this can open up their mind to be able to hold that space for them as well. Not
Mhm.
not with the intention of taking away, but with the intention of being a part of.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing that I learned, and it's the biggest thing across the board. We often, when people begin to talk to us about what's going on, We have a really bad tendency of taking away from that and making it about ourselves. It becomes a competition. It's embedded in us. It is. You're right. It's such a it's such a deep subject. And you're right. Sharing grief is healing. It's very healing. But we have to learn how to not one. One important thing to hold that space for them, to not to make it about us, to go, you know what? Dana said it perfectly. Just to sit there with you, right? Just to, if you want to talk, you want to talk. Yeah, I'm here for you. If you don't want to talk, that's fine. You want to watch a movie, you want to eat, whatever. I am in here with you. I have a phrase that I use with people. I say, when you're in someone else's space, be a visitor. Be a visitor. You're in their home. Be respectful. Be a visitor. So if you know that your friend is struggling or your loved one is struggling, show up, bring
Yeah.
food, right? Go in there, do the dishes, do the laundry, but take it. And the reason why I say this is because you take away their excuses for them trying to cater to you. This time, cater to them. And I think that's what we need. We need people to cater to us when we need it the most. Even when you don't verbalize it, show up. Because
Mhm.
I'm the type of guy, if I know that you're struggling, I'm showing up to your door. I'm gonna have food already. I may call you and be like, "Hey, I'm picking up Wendy's. Is there something that you want?" And you can make every excuse, but by the time you turn around, I'm at your door. And if I'm out there with food and everything, you're gonna open up your door. I'm not gonna leave it out there because, for one, I just showed up. Deep
Mhm.
down inside, I know that you wanted me to show up, and so therefore I am. You know, I'm not going to give you the chance to have to struggle by yourself.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give you the chance to think that just because
Mhm.
you're in this dark place that nobody see you. I want you to know that I see you.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we all need to do. We need to remind each other when we're struggling, I see you and I hear you.
And
And right,
you're,
I'm going to show up for you.
yeah.
Right? And
Yeah.
so that's what Dana. That's what her writing the book is. She's explaining all these things. Like, no one did that for her brother. Her brother could reached out to her, and and said, I'm struggling right now. She's in a whole different country, and no one did that for him. And so there's the guilt, the shame that comes along with that. And her family tried to cover it up, right? They're making up excuses. Oh, he passed away from a heart attack and all of these different things. No, be truthful. Be truthful. That individual
Yeah.
was struggling
Yeah.
and took his life.
Yeah.
How
I
many
think
other
that, like,
people
yeah,
out there are like that?
exactly. And we, as you say, if each of us know that we're not alone on our journey, either
Yes,
it's mental health or it be mental challenges, or it could be grieving. It could be grieving loved one to suicide. It could be grieving your pet, or it could be grieving your child to sickness, or whatever, your work. Maybe you're grieving your relationship. It's all still grieving, but we should know that we are not alone, that there are people who are there present for you, or people like myself and my book who are present for you as well. So I'm just hoping this,
mm,
like another call, as we say, we just again and again saying, repeating the same thing, like we need each other. We need to know that we are not alone, and I wanted to know you are not alone.
right,
So
right. And the question is Petra put up here. I'm gonna put it up here real quick. Because I think that's a deep question right there. What makes you a survivor? You know,
you survive of suicide?
yeah. What makes you a survivor?
Yeah.
Um,
In which way? Because I lost my brother to suicide. I think
and
at the
you've
moment,
attempted yourself too, right?
but
You,
I did, yeah, and I tried to take my life as well, yeah. But I think it's different kinds of. I don't know. I don't understand the question clearly, but there are two different kinds of survive. Calling yourself a survivor. First one, yes, when I tried to, when I did also was in that stage of committing suicide, so I'm survivor myself. And secondly, anybody who lost a loved one or friend or somebody to suicide, they are also survivors of suicide
Mm-hmm.
because it impacts you so much. It just really, yeah. I'm thankful you're here. Please know, Petra, you are not alone. I can see your text. Thank you so much. I did try to commit suicide as well, and I know what it is. But that's me being survivor as someone who tried to commit suicide. But as also, if you have somebody in your life who commits suicide, you're also survivor of that because it impacts you greatly. I believe all of my brother's friends, co-workers, family, everybody is survivors because those closed ones who go through grieving somebody, losing somebody to suicide, as I mentioned, it's not by me. It's actually psychologists say proven that we are at risk of committing suicide as well because
Mm-hmm.
the heaviness, the tragedy of suicide is very, 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 very large. I don't even have proper word to explain how big it is. So
All right.
that's two different ways of understanding the word survivor.
Mm-hmm.
I'm I
Let's
guess I'm actually I guess both.
Yeah, well, let's dive deeper into that, right? Because you're absolutely right. When we lose someone that we love to suicide, it becomes it becomes a shared guilt, a shared shame. Everybody has the woulda, coulda, shouldas. I should have
Mhm.
did this. I could have did that. But and you cannot um you cannot take on that responsibility because you don't know what a person is going through.
Mhm.
And I say that to say this because I've mentioned this before. Robin Williams, Twink. These are all celebrities that put smiles on their face every day. They came out and made other people laugh. But Robin Williams said it best. He said, those that are struggling with suicide are the ones who go out here and work the hardest to make other people laugh because
Yes.
they don't want people to feel the way that they do. And deep down inside, they're fighting a battle that they're not even sure that they're going to win. And eventually, and I hate to say this, eventually it takes you. We all get there. We
Yeah.
all at some point have struggled with this. Salute to my man, Big Heat out there, Unwrapped Podcast. Check him out on YouTube. Petra's up here. She got a YouTube channel as well. I'm gonna be subscribing to her channel. I want to know more about her, know more about her work. She has an amazing story as well. She's been sharing some of her texts up there. Thank you for tuning in, brother. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're diving deep into depression and suicide. Dana herself has lost her younger brother to suicide and depression, and so we're just talking about the different aspects that come along with that. Man, it is such a struggle. I was just quoting some from the late great Robin Williams when he talked about depression and how they put on a smile to make other people feel good because they don't want other people to see what's actually going on, right? It's that smile now, cry later mask that people wear. But here's another quote, some for people to dive into. I want to get your thoughts on this as well. Most people's biggest fear is that when they look into your eyes, they may see you the way that you see yourself. Now, if you're struggling with depression, high anxiety, suicidal ideation, the worst thing, that's your biggest fear, that people see this in you, right? And a deep quote right there. The biggest fear is that when you look into my eyes, you may see me the way that I see myself.
Yeah.
Wow,
Mhm. I
right?
actually was gonna say actually those two quotes that you mentioned earlier in this one, they're kind of together because when you were saying that somebody quoted that they want to make other people happy and not feel the same pain they do, but also at the same time they want to hide who they
Mhm.
are, or they feel the burden of being expected to be that happy guy, happy
Right,
person
yeah,
or
yeah,
happy woman, right? Like my brother, he was always a cheerful. He was like center of the company. Like he was always like, yeah, very. he had very beautiful sense of humor, and all his friends loved him. He loved karaoke, like, just having fun and partying, and not partying in a bad way, but I guess having fun, I guess, So, and he felt like if he is not that way, then he is not accepted. He would not be accepted if he is not who he is. So, and then it also, knowing that there's so much stigma, he was also hiding the truth. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's what it is. So I do understand. I do understand when what you're saying about people who are struggling with mental challenges, like the depression, and just trying to, yeah, pretend that life is going on and that they will be okay, but actually, it's very scary that they don't feel safe to open up.
Mm, yeah. That um that word right there is a very strong word, safe. When people feel safe, people will often let you into their world. It's when people don't feel safe with their own thoughts that they won't allow you to be in, because they're not sure how they're going to be received. We as a society have gone in many, many different directions when it comes down to this. I remember when I was a kid, growing up in the community I was in, we protected, we protected our children, we protected our elderly. We were a community. My grandma used to always tell me, the phrase that you said earlier, Dana, it takes a village.
Mhm.
It takes a village, right?
Yeah, I
And
didn't create it. I didn't invent it. I just wanted to bring back.
yeah, and that's why
Mhm.
I'm touching on that a
Yeah,
little bit,
yeah,
because it
good.
does
Thank
take a
you.
village,
Mhm.
and I can't
Mhm.
stress that enough
Mhm.
to the people out there. It does take a village. It takes people to hold you accountable too. But
Yes.
it also takes people to go, man, let's just sit down and talk. Let me just sit here with you. Let me be in this moment with you. In turn, you get to experience my moments with me, just in case, right? But I'm also the type of person, like, I'm annoying. If I know that you're struggling or something like that, and I come to your house, I'm not leaving your house, and I'm not leaving your house just because you go to sleep, because I know that's when you struggle the most. I know that's when I'll camp out on the couch. Hey, give me a blanket and a pillow. I'm
Mhm.
gonna
Yes.
be here. I'm here with you. You know what I'm saying? And and
Mhm.
and,
Yeah.
and when you get to the next day, I'm gonna have coffee and breakfast and breakfast ready for you. Um, because for one, Dana, I spent many a nights after my son passed away, curled up on the floor underneath the bed, crying, curled up in a corner, wishing that the pain would stop. Because after the funeral is when everybody left me,
Mhm.
and I was there. I had to fend for myself. Of course, the next following day, people would call and say, "Hey, man, how you doing?" I had one really good friend. It didn't matter what was going on. He called me when he get off work. Tony, what you doing? And I started being real honest with him. It's like, man, I'm struggling right now. He would call his wife and said, I'm going over to Tony's house. He come
Mhm.
pick me up. He'd come over and go, what do you need? And half the time I didn't know what I needed. He says, that's okay. I'm here.
Mhm.
You go
Yeah.
sit here. And he would sit there with me for hours and hours on end. And then I would go, you know what? I want to go fishing. He'd go, come on, let's go. You know, everybody needs someone like that.
Yeah,
And
you feel safe to tell him about your
right,
needs. Yeah,
right. But
you
I had
feel
known this
you
guy
feel
for like
safe to tell
20
him
years.
what you want.
Right. But
But that's very rare. That's what we need for each
right.
of us. Yeah, we
And
can't
then
see the whole world, but we can help those around us, one or two or three people, or more.
right. And,
Mhm.
and um I think the biggest problem, biggest challenge is that some people, a lot of times, most people will look at these situations and often go, well, you did this to yourself. Don't be
I know.
you're not a victim or anything like that when they're not listening to the underlying conversation that you're trying to have. Because what people do, they judge you from the things that you have done in your past, and they're
Yeah.
not willing to let it go, or they're willing to use that as a baseline for what's going on to you now. So it's easy to point the finger at you like you did this to
Mm.
yourself,
You
you
know what?
know.
I even like when I'm sorry to interrupt. Is it okay if I just say something to
No,
that?
no, no, please go ahead,
Yeah.
please.
Like
Intervene,
I'm
intervene.
not even going that big about grown up people, right? Like when I'm talking to my children, even my children, right? I tell them, if you have nothing to say that is nice, kind, empowering, uplifting, blessing, just don't say anything. Or find something to say that is uplifting, healing, blessing. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It's so easy to criticize or say it's your fault, blah, 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 and you're grown up. You can keep those things to yourself. Yes, you're not responsible for another adult. But if there is nothing to say that is blessing, please don't say anything. Just, you're not there to parent that person. You're not there to raise them or to. That's why don't criticize. You know what I mean? Just that's why I say when we show just tiny bit more of kindness, tiny bit of more of empathy, just
Mm,
tiny bit more, like just tiny step up more of that kindness and that compassion, then this world will be so much better around us. You know what I mean?
yeah. You know, I started wearing apparel. I got this shirt right here. It says SAD. It's the
Hmm.
acronym for Stay Another Day. I'm a huge advocate. I want people to know that I support you. So I wear this shirt, when I go to the gym, when I'm out in public and things like that. And on the back it says the world is a better place with you in it. And it has the crisis number on it. And so, I let people know because I'm going to walk the walk. I want to be part of the solution and not part of the problem. I'm not going to hide in the shadows and watch other people struggle when I have the ability to be able to do something. If you do something, you're part of the solution, right? I learned to say I learned to say I'm willing to be a part of your life because I want you to be a part of everybody else's life. And you are important. I have another shirt that says that you are enough. I have sweatshirts that says that you are enough, and on the back it says, "Hey, dear person
Yeah,
behind me, the
yeah,
world is a better place with you
yeah,
in it. From the person in front of you."
yeah.
And so I wear these things around all the time.
Yeah.
Anytime I find something like that, because I
Good.
am a huge mental
I
health
guess it gives
advocate.
you a good opportunity to
Right,
ignite a
right.
little conversation, right? Little talk. But it actually reminds me of the beginning of our conversation when you asked about NPT parents, right? Narcissistic personality disorder parents. That kids are when they grow up in those dysfunctional homes, we feel we are not enough. We are not good enough. We are not worthy. We're not good enough. We are to to earn the love of our parents, to
Right.
earn that, to earn by giving them material things or giving them my time or my space. Like
Hmm.
honestly, they were occupying everything, and that's what, and then dictating what to do with our lives and all, just all these things. So when you mentioned about those affirmations, I'm good enough, I am enough, just my presence here on this earth is already enough. And that's what when it brings us back again to the conversation at the beginning, when I said we need to teach our children and learn ourselves again the self the self worthiness, that I am worthy and you are worthy. When
Hmm.
we have that how can I say, self value, self worthiness, then I believe we know how to take care of ourselves, how to love ourselves in a healthy way, and to love others around us in a healthy way.
Yes.
No.
Yeah. Petra, you made a statement right there, and I want to add to that as well. She says we need more people like myself and yourself, Dana. And I'm going to say this. You're part of that circle, and everyone like you who are heart centered, who have walked this path of trauma and grief and addiction and all of these people out here doing amazing work. We are the village.
Mhm.
We are the village,
Mhm.
and in order
Yes.
for we and we have to go out there. We have to reach the people that the celebrities can't reach, right?
Yeah.
There's people out there that Eric Thomas can't reach. There's people out there that Les Brown can't reach. There's people out there that David Goggins can't reach. We can reach them. We can reach them. We
Mhm.
can bring support to them. We can bring resources to them. We can walk with them.
Yeah.
So we are the village.
Yes, I agree with you.
We
Yes,
are the
I
village.
agree. But also, we have people around us, like today, our
Right.
neighbors, our family,
Right.
children, or yeah, coworkers who are looking at us, and that's where also we have a little bit more impact on our level,
Mhm. Well,
that we can share, because these experiences, they are sad and tragic, but at the same time they are beautiful because they enhanced us in a way that we can be supporting. And yeah, we're the soldiers of our community. Thank you, Petra.
mhm,
That is exactly what it is. So my word out there within my book is, I hope, I will just repeat myself again, I hope this feels like a hand you're holding when you know that you are not alone. That's
mhm.
what it's about.
And her
Mhm.
book information is down in the YouTube channel. Go check it out, please, and
Mhm.
everything. She's done some amazing work. She actually has another book coming out as well.
Mhm.
But I also want to add to that statement that you made, Petra. Yes, we are the soldiers of our communities, but we're also the servants of our communities as well.
Mhm.
In my world, since I started this journey just over 5 years ago, becoming a men's grief coach, I realized that there's nothing more gratifying than being a servant, you know, as I pass through this beautiful globe that we call Earth.
Mhm.
And to be able to leave people better than what I found them
Mhm.
as I walk with them to their next destination. I think
Yeah.
that's what we're all doing. We're walking each other to our next destination on our way home. I'm just passing through.
Yeah.
And I love to see people
Yeah.
living within their gifts. And as much as we had to go through in order to do the things that we do, yeah, um, you deserve the thank yous. Everyone out there that's doing this work deserve the thank yous because we do this selfless thing, and people often don't thank us because they think that we was born out of some sort of genie or magic hat. They don't understand the things that we've had to go through in order to get to where we are. And so there's not too many thank yous. We don't get the flowers or anything like
Mhm.
that. You know, people just want what we have. And don't get me wrong, it's our obligation to give it to them. We're obligated to them. Once we said I do to this path that we of servitude, we were obligated to give our gifts to them. And so, that's what we're supposed to do. Now, I don't need anything from anyone because it's like being a parent. I don't need you to thank me for being a parent. It's
Mhm.
my job to do that.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
it's my job to be a good man in the world. I don't need you to thank me for that. I don't need you to thank me for the work that I do. I'm obligated. You don't have to thank me for the work that I do.
Mhm.
But it's good to know when people see you. It's definitely good to know that when people see you. And thank you for the work that you do as well, Petra. CFRE grant writer, huh? Researcher and consultant. Uh-huh. I have a nonprofit, so I love seeing things like that. And more people need people to help them find the grants and things like that. I don't have grants or donors or anything like that. I actually fund everything out of my own pocket. And I don't mind though. I don't expect people to invest in my dreams.
Mhm.
Um, not without me doing it first. And so, with that, this allows me to have the platform that I do without stipulations from people wanting to change what I do, right? I
Yeah.
found out what works. Dana found out what works. You found out what works. We wrote the books. We wrote the articles. I actually have a magazine, that's dedicated to grief, trauma, and mental health, called Grief Talk Magazine. Did that, right? I host a conference to do exactly what we're doing right now, to bring support, resources, and to have networking opportunities with other individuals from across the world. This will be my third year doing it, called the Global Grief Conference
Mhm.
2025. Going to be another virtual event. And so, I had to plug that one in there. Sorry for the little plug, but keeping everybody um is keeping everybody informed of what's going on, and to keep having a platform to showcase
Mhm.
individuals like Dana, like so many other amazing guests that I've had on my show, is been this huge privilege and honor. It's humbling because no one, without the guests and everything, I wouldn't be able to do what I do. You know,
Yeah.
so it's this is a community. This is a village, and I'm so honored and privileged to be a part of it. That is being welcomed to do the work that I do, and have the connections and resources to be able to help other individuals.
Mhm.
And Dana just joined that community. By coming up here and sharing her story, and um, uh, I'll get to that. I'll plug it in after, if you don't mind. But with that being said, I don't want to get too far into it, but I want to ask Dana. Dana, how can people find you?
So I do have a Facebook account that's called Dana's Writing Journal. And also, I just made my website active. It's Dana Kurmasheva, my full name.com. It's my writer's website. And my book is sold on Amazon. I also have Instagram. So I'm also a huge advocate for the community, especially lately going through my own divorce and other things. Because since my brother passed away, actually, my life started changing in many ways because I actually feel like I had huge just spur of growth, personal growth, and just lots of things that I had to. As I say, like it was almost like me awakening, like I just woke up suddenly, thinking like, what am I doing with my life? How am I living my life? What example I'm showing to my children, and all these things, like, and how my brother wants me to live today. Uh, like I don't want to be living the life that I did before, how I did before. I mean, so and then I became an advocate for immigrant women, and not only women, I guess, for immigrants who struggle with understanding Canadian family court system or having struggles with English. So I do offer my interpreting help, and also help in the court system of Canada. So I do have an Instagram account. It's called Rise Together Now, which is probably you already probably have it in the description below.
Mhm.
But my book is 5 a.m. The Silence After Goodbye. Can be purchased on Amazon. It's available in uh, Kindle ebook version, softcover copy like this one, and also hardcover copies available as well. It's all over the world, so U.S., Canada, or U.K., wherever you are, you're welcome to purchase. And I hope it can bring some help and support, yeah, and empowers and yeah, people who are going through the same challenges or through the same journey as I am.
Mhm. Now,
Thank you.
Petra, thank you for that. Definitely got to send me some information on that. I would love to know more about the work that you do and things like that. So I will try to. If we're not connected on LinkedIn, I'm going to connect with you out there because, again, I think it's always important to have people um, that we can reach out to and send people to. And so, with that being said, I have one more question for you. I love this question. I asked this question a couple of weeks back, and so I kind of took it and now I ask other people. So my next question would be: if you had a superpower, what would it be?
If I had a superpower, Mm, I don't know. It just comes back to I don't know. Maybe I'm just repeating King Solomon. I would say wisdom to know how to share, how to teach, how to uplift, how to empower, how to encourage others, and how to be at a better service, I guess, to this community. And because that's also ultimately comes from having wisdom and knowing how to be that empowers myself, no, how to be
Mhm.
that strong and also self like content and so like a loving person to myself and compassion to myself first and to others around me. So I would say wisdom probably because hopefully that's
That's
it.
beautiful. That is absolutely beautiful. With that being said, guys, we're gonna wrap up this episode of Grief Let's Talk About It podcast. If you guys are tuning in anywhere except for YouTube, do me a favor. If you want to and you like these conversations, head on over to the YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. It's scrolling down the bottom over there, the Grief Let's Talk About It podcast on YouTube, and give me a subscribe. And if maybe this may not be for you, if it's not, maybe you know somebody who can benefit from the conversations that we have. Share it along with them. It helps us get us out there, reach more people, and you know, letting people know that there are other people out here who understand what they're going through, and healing is possible. Healing is always possible. So, guys, with that being said, this is going to wrap up this episode of Grief Let's Talk About It podcast. Shout out to my guest today, Dana Kay, for being up here, being powerful and brave and sharing her story. And y'all go see a lot more of her. Her information is down below in the YouTube channel. All her links are there. Go follow her on social media. Let her know that you saw on Tony's channel, and you know, connect with her, network, do
Thank
all
you.
kinds of things, right? You know what I'm saying? But let's make an impact. Let's make an impact in this world. Let's keep serving, and remember, as Dana said, as we already established, we're the village.
Mhm.
We're the village. So it's time to help our community members heal. That's what
Yes,
we're here for, you
yes.
know. And so let's go out here and rock this thing, guys. Dana, thank you again.
Thank you so
Everyone
much.
else,
Thank you.
you're so welcome. Everyone else, thank you for your support. We're going to check you out in the next episode, which is going to be tomorrow. You guys already know I do a daily episode. On the weekends, I do a few of daily episodes. All right. So that way, keep you guys informed. With that being said, guys, love you, thank you, and we're going to see you guys in the next one. Peace.
Thank you.